so much. Okay, my heat has started and I'm not yet paddled out, but I'm just going to have to turn and catch the first few waves. Adaptive surfing, para surfing. Who's actually heard of it? Okay. For those that don't, adaptive and para doesn't really, there's no real differences, okay? The reason that the ISA used para surfing is because it aligns with the Olympics, okay? Adaptive surfing for some countries, and obviously in your own country it'll be completely different, so I don't know how that translates. But again, it's a way of sort of summing up everybody that has got challenges when it comes to surfing, and perhaps going back 10 years wouldn't even have thought that surfing was possible for somebody with all sorts of challenges. And so the adaptive sort of brings it all together, and it's something that probably in your language you would understand what it's all about. If I go to this next slide, please. Okay, so I'm heading next month, to the World Para Surfing Games in Huntington Beach, California, which sounds exotic, doesn't it? Apart from the fact that you've got to take 13 athletes, 8 support staff, raise £40,000, and yes, it's quite challenging because your accommodation is different to your accommodation, is different to your accommodation, because I need to wheelchair into my shower, and I need support because I'm visually impaired. And by the way, I've only got one leg, so I can't go upstairs. So let's all stay together in a room. No, okay. And this is just one of the elements why, to me, adaptive surfing is an area that I personally, and I don't think it's just me, is passionate about, because every surfer is incredible. A lot of surfers don't need help. Adaptive surfers need help in all sorts of ways. And generally, it's free help. We've got to give, we've got to serve, and that's why, to me, it's a real passion. Next slide, please. The background. Okay, this is just some of the types of athletes I work with. Probably about 8 or 9 years ago was the first ever ISA World Para Games. It started off quite small. It's always been in the States, so it always amazes me that they talk about the World Para Games, and yet every month, every year it's been in the States. They need to move it out a bit. We've moved from Pismo down to Huntington Beach, which is going to be interesting. But it started off as a great crew. And you can see there, this is Martin on the top left-hand side. Victim of the war twice. He could have been medically discharged the first time. Wanted to go back and sadly lost both legs. An incredible guy. And the first time I met him, he had a wheelchair, and he needed to go to his car, and there was really tight space. I'm thinking, Martin, I can't even get you to your car. He said, Phil, just get me to the start. So he got me to the start, and with that, he leapt off his wheelchair into the car door, bang, put the wheelchair in the back, Phil, gone, okay? These individuals have got a can-do mentality. There is nothing you can say to upset them. Politically correct with the adaptive community doesn't exist, okay? I use the wrong words every time. And I insult them so many times, not meaningfully, but they just laugh at me and say, Phil, it's not actually called that, or it's this. And they've just got this incredible community. And whenever I say that you get short boarders together, it's a party. Long boarders, I think, is even bigger party. Adaptive surfers, oh my word, it goes off. And these are the types. So next slide, please. Okay, Christians involved at the highest level. And this is why I'm excited about it, because I've been volunteer team manager for the last 3 years for the English team. And as I've been going to the World Games, you're suddenly finding lots of Christian people involved. So there's a couple here, obviously well-known, Bethany. Derek Rubillo, anyone know Derek Rubillo, blind surfer? Complete nutter, but amazing at what he does. And here you've got people more in the media side. So Alex Reynolds, part of CS Sea Salt all those years ago. He's involved with the ISA Games, so it's great whenever I go there. Shannon, as well, commentates. And then you find out all these other team managers or team facilitators or athletes. So one of my favorite names is Buster Kawasaki from Hawaii. And Eric, where is Eric? You've got to meet him. You've got to meet him. By the end of this time, I'm going to get you two together. He is such a lovely guy on fire for God. When I was at Pismo last year, I met, what's her name? It's going to come back to me. It's a surf brand, Roxy. Roxy was there on the on the national team for Africa, and she has a long history in sun surf. You know, it's great just to connect with her. So all these people are involved, and I just think we've got so much opportunity. Next one, please. So how does it work? Okay, how on earth can you judge all these different divisions? I suddenly realised I'm in the way of the screen, but anyway. So there, in simple terms, without going into too much detail, there are 9 different classifications. 2 are visually impaired. So what they call VI1, completely blind surfer. VI2, lots of sight loss in both eyes. And this is one of those, I suppose, classifications that's quite really hard. At what stage do you become a VI1 to a VI2? At what stage are you a VI2, or actually, no, you can see okay? And so the way they're developing this, as the stakes are getting higher, it's going to get more and more hard to make sure that you're actually a VI2, but you're trying to get into a VI1 department. And one story was, I don't need to share it because it's funny now, but VI1s, which are completely blind, at Pismo Pier. Pier's got some big barnacle pillars down it, and there's catchers and pushers everywhere, apart from one pier. And this amazing young lady just basically surfed straight into the barnacle pier. Thankfully, she was okay. And then from then on, you realize she's definitely VI1, because you wouldn't do that. You've then got a number of prone divisions, line divisions, and they've got prone assist and prone non-assist. So for a prone assist, you need somebody that's a pusher, gets you out into the break, and then a catcher. So your relationship with a pusher and catcher are really, really important, because if Reichardt is a pusher and he doesn't understand the ocean and the waves, he's going to push Vanessa into completely the wrong waves. So it's that bond, that working relationship is so, so important. Likewise, if you're visually impaired 1 or 2, you need your eyes in the water, okay? They need to be saying, okay, set, come in, go, no. And I'm not very good at being a spotter for these visually impaired people. I always get them to the closeouts. But again, that relationship is so, so keen. And there's a number of people, again, from a Christian surfers background who are very close and have those relationships. And if any of those people win a medal, their helpers, their pushers, and their catchers also win. Because that's how close it's got to be. Then there's sit, and then there's kneel, and all sorts of things. And then 3 bits of amputees, below knee, above knee. So there's 9 classifications. And sadly, lots of adaptive surfers don't fit in any of them, because it's not, nice and logical. It's like, well, that person clearly has got real challenges, but they don't fit in. So one of the UK guys lost his arm to cancer a year ago. Amazing guy. Was a great surfer, and now he kneeboards. He doesn't fit in a category. I'm convinced in a year's time he'll probably go back to standing, but it's a massive transition. But he doesn't fit in as a kneeboarder. So anyway, next slide, please. A global community growing, always in need of help. This is what I love about it, because if you went to the WSL and said, do you need help? It's like, okay, occasionally they do, and we've got some great service teams, but most of them say, we've got money for this, 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 and this. You go to your local surf club, and they'll say, actually, yeah, we could do help running a comp. You go to any adaptive, and they are desperate for people. My team of 13 are always looking out for extra people that are pushers or catchers, and I just think, if you start looking around your local breaks or your wave pools or whatever, you may well find there's some adaptive initiatives going on that you have no idea about. I'm sure some of you are aware of them and are actually getting involved already, but they're always on the lookout. And we know what it is. I always say, Christian surfers, we've got no money, but we've got an amazing asset, and it's called people. Next slide, please. Professional Para Tour. There are now, I think it's about 6 events around the globe for para-professional surfing. This is exploded insanely. There's a guy called Dana who's based in Pismo Beach called AmpSurf. So obviously traditionally looking at amputees, but this thing is growing. Where's Janella? Where's Janella? Okay, so Janella's in Spain, and just to let you know that in Spain, they've got something like 800 surfers who enter their adaptive nationals. And I said, no, you can't mean that. But there's some crazy amount. And you can imagine every one of these, every year is growing. And there is nothing better than I meet Martine, who's come to my local beach in a wheelchair. And, oh, what are you doing, Martine? Well, I just come to check out the surf, whatever. And have you ever tried surfing? Well, of course I can't. I'm in a wheelchair. Don't say that. And a great story from 10 minutes ago. Thank you very much. And a great story from one of our crew from Liverpool, a guy called Spike Kane. Spike Kane, he's sort of one of the legends of adaptive surfing. He went from America. He went from the UK to America in real estate, selling houses for those that easier. And he started teaching adaptive surfing. 2 years later, he was hit by a car while he was on his push bike, paralyzed from the waist down. I said to him, because he's now competing it, I said, how long was it before you knew that you were going to go back on a surfboard? He said, half an hour. He said, I've been teaching it for 3 years. When this guy falls off, he can't help himself. The pushers and catchers have got to get him out because he's underwater. And that's the scary thing about when you are. There's a quite big duty of care. But it's incredible. And in France, I was going to be joined today by Jean-Marc, who is handy surf, and he's also chair of French Surf Federation. I think I've got that right. Okay, yeah. And again, they've got a great surfing community here and doing some great work in Biarritz, probably? Seignos, yeah. So they've got a contest there, and they tend to sort of like have literally, so this year there was one in Wales, one in England, one in France, one in Spain, one in Portugal, Costa Rica, and Australia is a new one, Brazil. So watch this space. Next slide, please. Oh, this is from the ISA World Games, so I'll let you see it, day one.
All right, here we are in beautiful Pismo Beach for the first day of competition for the 2021 ISA World Parasurfing Championships hosted by AMP Surf. Been an amazing first day of competition. The action is hot. Let's check it out on the highlights video.
Here we go. Here's Mike Richards. Brazilian team, very talented in this division.
Three nations saw representation for the first time on the international stage today as surfers from Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and El Salvador hit the water. Puerto Rico's Jeremy Butts was emotional after surfing his very first heat in international competition.
My name's Jeremy Butts. I'm representing Puerto Rico. I appreciate what ISA does for all of us. I think people that see me do this be inspired to propel forward in their life and to know that they can compete in sport. And even if they're not in competitive sport, they can participate in sport, and that keeps the mind, the body, and the spirit, most importantly. I know that surfing has been had a huge impact on my life, and I'm just grateful every day.
Orba with a 7 and a 4.83. Let's watch him work down the line. Yeah, let's watch Pablo. This will be his second wave. Working down the line, the goofy footer. You see he's got some style there. Going into the pier section, and nice tag at the end. He's loving that one.
The first excellent score for the women today went to Australia's Sam Bloom. Sharp changes in her direction defined Bloom's approach, and her aggressive attack showing the judges exactly what they wanted to see. It's a new approach that she's been developing with Cameron Bloom, her husband, and her coach, Tom Carroll.
Yeah, so we've been training heaps before we came. And and Cam, my husband, and Tom Carroll, he's been awesome. So they've been trying to get me to dig my arm in so I can spin the board around. Because before I used to just use my weight, like to sort of move the board. And then you got to dig your arm in so you can turn faster. So that's what I tried today, and yeah, and it kind of worked. Yeah, I really like the board I was riding today. That's what I've been training with heaps, so kind of get used to it. And Tom said, he goes, don't change it, don't change your fin setup, do what you've been doing. So I'm like, okay. I better listen to the boss.
Now the 6.50, and it looks like he's taken off again.
Yeah, solid forehand jam right there as he went straight up into it. So degree of difficulty right there, to me, that was a little bit of such going under the wave. You see him just psyching right there, finishing up on the shore break, throwing his hand up, bit of a claim there.
Big drop here in the red. Casey Proud from Hawaii.
Yes, rebound, even though it was only about a foot and a half.
Well, that's a wrap. What an amazing first day of competition it was for this Pismo Beach 2021 ISA World Parasurfing Championship hosted by AMP Surf. Some of the best surf I've seen in the week that I've been here, and I think we got more on the way. Tune in tomorrow, 7 a.m. for our second day of competition, and we're going to start with the men's kneel class. Pretty exciting stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, the next heat's paddling out, so I've got 5 minutes. I didn't realize actually I was on that video, but in Georgia, I just saw it then. But you can just see the excitement and the camaraderie. For those that know that the English and the show say the British and the Argentinians fell out a good few years ago. And it was so lovely to see that there was one Argentinian, Nico, who was there with no other support, and he was just embraced by the English team for the whole 5 days, and it was just fantastic to see. So it is exciting, it's growing. Opportunities to serve. Next slide, I think is that the... Okay. These are some of the results that people within all those capacities, they have 4 gold, silver, bronze, and copper. So anybody that gets into the center, or again who gets to the final, will actually get a medal. And along with that goes the crew. So it's fantastic. Got 2 minutes to go. Next slide. Yeah. There's other amazing Blue Health opportunities to get involved with your local break. And we have this thing called Wave Project in Britain, which is fantastic. You can be a mentor for that. But I think to close, it's just like saying very quickly, is anybody here involved with the Adaptive or Para Games at all in any way, shape or form? Okay, so I think this potential is massive. And wherever we are in the next big event, I'm going to be asking the same question. Eric asks, how are you? I'm going to be saying, are you involved with Adaptive Para Games? But yeah, I'd love to talk about it. It is an amazing opportunity. Check out what's going on. Just search Adaptive or Para surfing in your country and see what goes on. Yes, Tim?
Just to say, in Spain, we've been doing it for now 8 years in the Mediterranean. It's been a great volunteer opportunity, and we're starting in the north of Spain with little opportunities to serve.
Yeah, brilliant. And they appreciate so much what we do, and that's the great thing about it. We don't do it because we want thanks, but the bond is so close. On a daily basis here, I'm about to announce the team for the English, which is going to be a little bit interesting, but anyway, because they're quite passionate people and they're top athletes. And you never ever say, oh, I'm going to judge that person because I feel sorry for them. They'll say straight through it. You judge what you see, and that's the great thing about it. Do you mind if I pray? I got the mic, so I can. Lord, I want to thank you for this phrase, every surfer. It means so many different things to so many people. But I can't help but think, Lord, you have a real passion to see the marginalized and those with challenges loved, supported, and you love them as much as anybody else. So let's us do our thing. I just pray for the role of Christian surfers, not just as a ministry, but as individuals scattered all through this adaptive para surfing community, Lord. We pray for people like Alex and the crew and Aaron and obviously Shannon. We pray for all those involved as we go to Huntington Beach. It's always a great time for the CS crew to come together. And even for the practicalities of myself and the English team, Lord, yeah, there's quite some challenges still to go. But I want to thank you that you love these surfers as much as anybody else, and I'm convinced that it's yet another opportunity to serve, and serve. Amen. Thanks, team. 22